Hi, I'm Shao. There is a strange, well-documented phenomenon that is more to do with language, with philology. Concepts do not really exist in our mind until they are pointed out by giving them a name. Only then you really start noticing them. In photography, perhaps the most obvious example is bokeh. Bokeh is a Japanese word that does not translate very well into English. It describes the nature of out of focus areas, or the nature of blurriness. It's not exactly the amount of blurriness, which is dictated by depth of field, but rather the aesthetic characteristics of the blur. Nobody in the 70s, 80s thought about blur in those terms, at least not in the Western world. Maybe some obscure Japanese artists were using it regularly, but no one really cared about what the blurred parts of an image looked like. They were either in focus, slightly soft, or very soft. That was all there was to it. In 1997, I think it was Mike Johnston of the venerable blog The Online Photographer, which I am a keen follower of, brought this term to the attention of American readership, and from about then on, Western photographers became a lot more interested in the aesthetics of the blur. The same goes for the appearance of depth. The true-to-life nature of photos brought about by certain optics. Now, no one really noticed it. It wasn't something that you referred to or you cared about until maybe 2015 or so. This is when people started noticing the lack of sharpness they obtained in their images, especially with high megapixel cameras. And manufacturers started using more and more extra low dispersion glass to improve the resolving power of the optics. Only then the term clinical or too sharp came about, and photographers started noticing the difference between true to life and perhaps clinical lenses. The thing is, once the true to life nature of a lens or of some images is pointed out to you, you cannot unsee it, and you become maybe a little bit obsessed about this quality of the photograph, and you look for it everywhere. I still miss the days of blissful ignorance, but I was extremely happy with each new lens I bought. When I just started using full frame cameras, I was obviously drawn to the Sigma and Tamron, third-party lenses, because of cost issues. And indeed, they were very sharp, especially Sigma's Art series lenses. And it took me a few years until I noticed, in retrospect, as I looked at what I got from those lenses in comparison to what I used to get from other lenses, that there was something missing, and I couldn't really put the point on it until I started reading about poppiness, micro-contrast, etc., and being shown that indeed some Zeiss lenses made images that looked really different, that reminded me of old film images. So once I could see it, I could not unsee it. When you start looking for lenses that do portray the world in a true-to-life manner, you realize that those lenses are, generally speaking, quite expensive ones. When you start looking for lenses that do have this way of portraying the world in a true-to-life manner, you realize that those lenses are quite expensive. Those are typically pro primes that are not supposed to be used by lay people or amateurs. They're strictly designed for professional photographers, like this lens, the Nikon 28 millimeters f1.4. Now it's quite a massive lens for its designation. It weighs, I think, about 650 grams, and it requires a rather robust camera to support it comfortably. Same goes for those exquisite manual Zeiss lenses that are famous for having a 3D pop effect. Luckily, now with the industry rapidly moving towards mirrorless mounts, lenses like these have really lost some prestige, or at least interest, and they can be both used for perhaps 40 or 50% of their introduction price. So they become rather, I wouldn't say affordable, but rather competitive in price compared to other nice prime lenses. You can easily adapt such lenses to almost any mirrorless camera with very little compromises. Of course, they retain their rendering, whatever camera you use them on, whether it's native manufacturer or a different manufacturer, because the way images made depends mainly on the lens. The sensor of the camera is only there to capture the image, but the chemistry of the image, so to speak, is determined by the glass inside the lens. A second way to ensure good true-to-life rendition is to go with lenses designed for rangefinders. As long as you stay away from anything that has Apple in its name, because those lenses will be sharper and more clinical. Rangefinder lenses have to be small, so their optical design is simple. They have only crown and flint glass with a decent refractive index, and they do allow some dispersion, so they would usually suffer from a little bit of chromatic aberration, but the viewer cannot see this in most cases in the whole photograph. It's only when you pixel peep, when you start looking at the image at very high enlargement, that you can see those issues. Anyway, rangefinder lenses have to be small in order to minimize the viewfinder blockage. So they do render in a nice way by nature. Now, adapting those to mirrorless cameras is possible, but it involves more compromises. You have to use an adapter like this if you want some type of autofocus with those lenses, because they are manual, all of them. Rangefinders do not support autofocus. And the autofocus mechanism in those adapters is quite limiting. For example, you cannot really use it for fast motion video. The motors in these adapters are just not fast enough, and they would do a lot of hunting. So this is really detrimental to any attempt to shoot video. They do work in a setting like this, where there's a talking head in front of a camera that does not move much. So it can keep up with this type of video. Another way to ensure true-to-life rendition in your images is by going a little bit back. In the 1990s, the evolution of optics made for SLR film cameras really came to a sort of a peak. A lot of very nice primes and even zooms were made. Now, with film, chromatic aberration is not really an issue, except for very long focal lengths. So ED elements were only started to be introduced into those long lenses, but anything shorter than maybe 200 millimeters was still using regular glass. And some of the lenses do have a very nice portrayal of the scene. Lenses like this one, which is the Nikon 35 millimeters f2, are really nice. They don't have a very smooth bokeh or anything like all those new sterile lenses, and they do have some chromatic aberration. However, they are small and sharp and easy to mount on any SLR or DSLR camera, and they do have a very nice rendering. So by using lenses from that era, you really can make sure that your images look true to life. Autofocus was only at its infancy at that time. So the autofocus mechanism in those lenses, if indeed they had any, is quite slow and perhaps a little bit noisy. It has a whirring sound. The other issue is that with some of the mounts, it's a bit problematic to mount them on a mirrorless camera, a modern one, without making some significant compromises. For example, the Nikon D lenses like this one do not have an internal motor. The autofocus motor is located inside the camera, and unfortunately mirrorless cameras, also some of the Nikon DSLRs did not have this motor, so those lenses become manual focus on mirrorless. Unless you adapt them to the camera by an autofocus adapter made for rangefinder lenses, and then stack another adapter on top of it to adapt the lens to the mount of that first adapter, becomes quite cumbersome, and the performance of autofocus will not be exactly native either. So if you do need autofocus because of shooting in low light or having issues with your eyesight, mirrorless is not the ideal platform for these lenses, despite them being small and perhaps complementing the aesthetics of the smaller size of mirrorless bodies. Of course, with other mounts like Canon's or Minolta's mounts that were still natively supported by all electronic DSLRs, things might be more easy. Those lenses have internal autofocusing motors and are supported in a more native manner by mirrorless cameras. So perhaps using a Canon lens from the same era, from the 1990s, makes more sense than trying to work with those Nikon D-type F-mount lenses. Maybe mirrorless is truly not the right platform for using those lenses. Fortunately, there are many DSLR cameras that used to be the professional models at the time that have really gone down in price and are quite obtainable these days. And they make photos as nice as they used to when they were at the heyday. Those cameras are made to be reliable. They can last for forever. It's not really forever, but they can last for decades and still work like new. For example, this camera, Nikon D700. It used to be the leading semi-professional or event camera, the late 2000 and the early 2010s. And it's a robust thing, all made of metal, and it's fast and really made for the old Nikon D lenses. Now, those cameras will be, of course, lower in megapixels and perhaps more limited in autofocus. Cameras like this D700 or Canon's 5D Mark whatever, or Sony full frame from those years around 2008 to 2012 can be obtained, used for only a few $100 in perfect working condition. And those lenses made in the 1990s do support autofocus and have a very nice natural rendering, are also quite cheap. A lens like this one, the Nikon 28 to 105 zoom, can be bought for really ridiculous prices. I bought this one for $50, I think. And it's one of the best versatile zooms ever made. I cannot really compare any new zoom made in the past maybe decade that can produce images that are as nice as this one. Of course, if true-to-life rendition is a priority for you. This lens has a lot of issues like chromatic aberration, lower resolving power. It's not very fast either, but for a daytime zoom, for general photography, I cannot imagine anything that will surpass it, especially not these days. And I imagine you can find such lenses for any of the DSLR mounts. The thing is, you have to be a little bit more lax about image quality. The viewer, when looking at a photographic image from a normal viewing distance, cannot see all those tiny flaws like a slight software that you can only see when pixel peeping, or some thin fringing. The viewer, when looking at an image from a normal viewing distance, where the entire image fits into the narrow zone of good sharpness in our natural field of view, will not notice any slight softness or thin fringing the edge of highlighted areas of the photo, but they will notice flatness. In other words, they will be more drawn to images that look true to life, with some pop, with some depth, where you can judge the distances in the scene correctly, and objects or people look like they have a certain volume. They don't just look like cardboard cutouts. So you can be a little bit more lax, less fussy about all those things. And for these purposes, even older cameras and older lenses will be sufficient. You don't have to empty your bank account to be able to shoot such gear. I'm not trying to tell you what to buy or make any specific recommendations. I'm not gaining anything from videos like this one. But perhaps you should have another system, just for those purposes of what I call dirty photography. It really doesn't cost much. If you're not happy, you can probably sell it for the same price you bought it. But it might make a difference for you. It might make photography more enjoyable. In a way, you can always blame your older gear for all these flaws and imperfections. But you might also learn something. Learn something not only about optics and the technical aspects of photography, but also learn something about yourself. Photography should be fun. It should be an adventure. So I think that was enough for today. Thank you very much for watching.